Alright, so moving on to questions 21 through 25. So starting with 21. First thing I'm going to do is, one, read the instructions. They're telling you that this shape is a rectangle. So all the properties of a rectangle apply here. So the first thing is telling you QP. So QP is 6. Well, if that's 6, that means SP or PS is also 6, which means that the entire diagonal is 12. And so here they're telling you what is the measurement of diagonal RT, which we just said was 12. Okay. Now I'm going to erase my 6's because each question is different. So the next question, they're telling you QT is 8. Then what's the measurement of RS? So remember, properties of parallelogram still apply. So two pair of opposite sides are congruent. So if QT is 8, then RS is also 8. And I'm going to erase. All right. So it says in rectangle, for 23, it says in rectangle RAIN, YR is 3x, and NY is 18. Find x. Well, if NY, so remember it's a rectangle, which means the diagonals, not only are they congruent to each other, but they bisect each other, which means all the parts of the diagonal are congruent to each other. So that's the equation I set up. So we have 18 equals 3x, divide by 3, and we get x to be 6. So number 24, again, we have a rectangle, so all the properties of a rectangle apply. So it says angle 1 measures 55 degrees. Find the measurement of angle 2. So remember, one of the special properties of a rectangle is that we have 4 right angles. And so if I know that this angle here is supposed to be a right angle, which means 90 degrees, and if I know the measurement of 1 is 55, I simply subtract it, and I get the measure of angle 2, which is 35 degrees. Moving on, number 25, it says the measure of angle 3 is 110 degrees. Find the measure of angle 4. So we haven't talked about this one, but angle 3 and angle 4 is a linear pair, which means supplementary, which means they add up to 180. And so if I know they're supposed to add up to 180, and I know that angle 3 is 110, I simply subtract, and I get the measurement of angle 4. Alright, moving on, 26 through 32. So first, 26. So they're telling you that this shape is a square, which means all the properties of a square apply here. So they're telling you if IT is 6, well, if that's 6, then HT is also 6. Find FS. So remember, diagonals of a square are going to be congruent to each other. And so if HI is 12, that means FS is also 12. For 27, it says if MNOP is a square, so draw my square, MNOP, it says what is the measurement of angle MNP? So MNP, so what measures there? So remember, so this right here is creating a diagonal, and the diagonal of a square is going to bisect the opposite side. And so if this was 90 degrees and it's being bisected, that means half of 90. So the measurement of MNP is 45 degrees. 28. Once again, they're telling you it's a square. Okay, so all the properties apply. So they're telling you if angle AEB is 3x. Remember, diagonals of a square, not only do they bisect each other, not only are they congruent, but they are also perpendicular. And so that's telling me that where 3x is, that's supposed to be 90. So to solve for x, we simply divide by 3, and we get x to be 30. Now I'm going to erase this because it's a new question. So moving on, it says if BAC, so BAC is 9x, find x. So once again, so here, because it's being bisected, there's corners being bisected, half of 90 is 45, so that's what I set my equation equal to. Divide both sides by 9, and we get x to be 5. Moving on, number 30, it says if AB is 2x plus 4, so AB is 2x plus 4, and CD is 3x minus 5, find BC. So one thing we got to remember is sides of a square are all going to be congruent. So the first thing is I got to figure out what x is. Once I know what x is, I can plug it into either expression to find the length, and thus giving me BC. So we start with 2x plus 4 equals 3x minus 5, and we're going to solve for x. We're going to solve for x by subtracting 2x from both sides, and at the same time we're going to add 5. So on the left side, the 2x's cancel. On the right side, the 5's cancel. On the left side, I'm left with 9. On the right side, I'm left with x. So once I know what x is, I plug it into either one of these. So let's just plug it in there. And we have 2 times 9 plus 4. Well, 2 times 9 is 18 plus 4. That gives me 22. So the measurement of BC is 22. Moving on. So it says ACKJ is a rhombus. So I'm going to draw myself a beautiful rhombus, label it ACKJ. And it says AC is 6y plus 4. CK is 5y plus 8. KJ is 3y plus 16. Find KJ. So that's a lot of information. But one thing we have to remember is that a rhombus, all sides are congruent. So really, just choose 2, set them equal to each other, solve for y. Once you get y, plug y into for y, and you get your measurement. So I'm going to choose, doesn't matter, I'm going to choose this equation up here, and that expression there. And we're going to set those two things equal to each other. So 6y plus 4 is equal to 5y plus 8, and we're going to solve for y. So we subtract 5y here on both sides, move the 4 over, 4 cancels, 5y cancels. On the left side, I'm left with y. On the right side, I'm left with 4. So now that I know that y is equal to 4, I'm going to substitute it in there. So we have 3 times y, which I just found to be 4, plus 16. And that's going to give me kj. So kj, well, let's do some mental math. 12 plus 16 is 28. So here kj is 28. 32. It says PQRS. So it's a rhombus. So draw my rhombus and label it PQRS. And they're telling you that PQS, so angle PQS, so this angle in here is 3x plus 10, and angle SQR, so this angle here, that's find angle QSR. So we have to remember that that the diagonals of a rhombus bisect the opposite angles. So if this angle up here is being bisected, that means that these two are going to be congruent to each other. And so that's what we're going to do to set up my equation. So 3x plus 10 equals x plus 40, solve for x. Subtract x from both sides, subtract 10 from both sides. X is canceled, 10's cancel. On the left side, 3 minus 1 is 2x. On the right side, 40 minus 10 is 30, and I get x to be 15. Once I know that x is 15, now let's go back. It says find the measurement of QSR. QSR is this angle there. But nonetheless, remember, these two angles here should be the same as these two angles there because it's the opposite angles of a rhombus and they're both being bisected. And so really all I gotta do is plug it into either one of these two and I get my answer. So I'm gonna plug it in this one. So we got 15 plus 40 gives me an angle measurement, which in this case the angle measurement of QSR is 55 degrees.